All right. So the first episode of the Super Auto podcast with FBL. So first off, just like, do you want to tell me a little bit like about yourself? Like, what do you do in your life, like outside of streaming and Super Auto Pets?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, okay. Well, I'm a geriatric millennial. So, how abridged of a version do you want of that? Because I could talk for quite some time.
just whatever you feel like telling people.
Okay. Because I'm like old enough probably to be like Echo's dad if I was a degenerate in high school. So yeah. So I am originally from the East Coast of the United States, from Philadelphia, and then I moved to California. So I live in Los Angeles now. I've been here since 2019. So I recently got a car this year. Before I didn't have a car at all, and then the pandemic was in 2020. So I really don't know much about the city. I didn't get around to too many things, or many things weren't really open. But yeah, as far as like my 9 to 5 career, I've been working in marketing, digital marketing for like the last 7 or 8 years. Um, and I've worked in various industries. I'm fortunate enough to work in the gaming industry right now, which is kind of pog. So it's cool to like promote something that is like fun versus like insurance.
Yeah, for sure.
And and yeah, I've been a long time. I like to say duelist. Only in like the last like 4 or 5 years have I gotten more into video games. I was always like a tabletop IRL type of gamer, specifically trading card games. So I've played a bunch of different card games that have died and gone away, but I've always played Magic the Gathering, kind of on and off over the decades. And then, yeah, I used to have a podcast myself. I've done stand up and improv and sketch. I have like my own website with a bunch of comedy content. So yeah,
Yeah.
I've gotten my feet wet in a lot of different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
So
friend of mine once said like we kind of came up with a good metaphor for it. Like if you were to talk about like FBL or Brian's life, there's like many different eras, and then there's like spin-offs with like new like collections of seasons of things that I'm doing.
yeah. Yeah, so you talk a lot about like how you play Magic or how you played Magic. Did you play that competitively, or did you play any other games competitively?
Yeah, so I'm always so for those that don't know, I always jump back to this like metaphor, these like personas. So in Magic, there's three archetypes of different types of players, and they're called Jimmy. Excuse me, sorry, that's Timmy, Johnny, and Spike.
Mm-hmm.
And for the Timmy is very like a casual, kitchen table type of just like board gaming. The Johnny is like all about like epic combinations. For the Super Auto Fets fans, a lot of people that like doing like really funny and interesting comps in Arena are like Johnnies.
Okay. Okay.
And then the people that play in the team tour and that are like very involved in the dojo, they're Spikes. The people that are like competitive, they don't care what pack is the best, they'll play whatever's the best type of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Um, so yeah, so I've always been competitive with card games, and yeah, I played a lot of lesser known card games that eventually died, just because in order to get people's attention away from like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon, they would have really juicy marketing budgets for their organized play. And
Mm-hmm.
then since a lot of great duelists were playing those major games, it was easy to become like a big fish in a smaller pond in
Yeah.
these other games. So like, okay, I'm gonna really reveal how old I am. I I played very seriously the World of Warcraft trading card game, which
Oh,
was the
okay.
IRL card game that predated the existence of Hearthstone. Okay.
Oh boy. Okay.
um, but no, I was super into that. Like, I won like one of the major opens for that, and then I played in the World Championships in Paris. So
Oh really? I didn't
uh,
know you were that good.
I was good enough to get invited to that, and yeah, like and yeah, one of my teammates ended up winning that championship, which was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I could have played a little bit better, had a little bit better luck, but hey, at
Yeah.
least the deck list I was running won, so I was around some greatness at least. So
Yeah, I mean that's still really impressive. I mean, I've never been invited to Paris to play a tournament before, so.
yeah, it was cool. It was a cool experience for sure. So yeah, I mean, and as far as like my Magic credits go, like I've never played on the Pro Tour. I've played in some like Pro Tour qualifiers and stuff, but I always focused on Eternal formats, which aren't really like supported by the Pro Tour scene that much. So basically the formats that I played the most and had the most success in, you can play with like the history of Magic. So it's very, very expensive. It's very like cost prohibitive for a lot of people to play. I've
Oh
been
yeah.
playing on and off for a long time, and I know a lot of people in the scene, so I didn't buy in at like the most outrageous price points, so it makes it more affordable. But yeah, I mean those like Star City Games has had several tournaments. So I had like a top 8 for one of their opens in Legacy. I've top 8'd the Vintage Championship in 2017. So yeah, those are probably like my best Magic credits. So yeah, if you do some Googling for me, you can find some clips of me playing Magic like under the big lights
Oh
and
boy,
stuff. Yeah.
we'll have to find some of those.
Yeah, for sure.
So getting now into some more of the SAP based questions, how did you get into SAP, and then the bigger question is like, how did you get into competitive SAP? Because like that's like such a niche market to find. Like, how did you even get there?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I originally had heard of SAP when it first like blew up on the scene. At the time I was heavily watching all types of content on Twitch. Like, so for years and years, I would only watch like Magic streamers or coverage of Magic events. I was, I guess, a typical Twitch enjoyer, being like only in the category of the game that I knew about and didn't know about like greater Twitch at all.
Yeah.
And then like the pandemic, like learning about like React streamers and variety streamers and like getting exposed to different stuff and like Among Us lobbies, like introducing you to other creators and whatnot. And then, eventually find Ludwig and then him and some of his cohorts playing Super Auto Pets is what first got it on my radar. But it was funny. I was so deep into like team fight tactics and Magic that I just was like, look, I'm not going to bother with this. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
I don't need a third game. But I got really frustrated with TFT.
As everybody does.
Yeah. And I was looking for something else, and I was like, oh, you know what? There was that auto battler I used to watch, like Ludwig do sometimes. I'm like, I should give that an honest try. And I tried it out, and I'm like, this game is so much better than TFT. I should have been playing this a year ago. And yeah, then similar, just being a spike. Like once I got into it and started playing arena and stuff, I was like, all right, well, I need more than just this. This is not enough.
Yeah, for sure.
For me.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, just perusing the category, it probably was watching like Suboptimal and then just asking like him probably showing coverage of a team tour event or something and being like, oh, here's the link to the dojo, and then
you watch like a lot of Tyler streams, right? To like
exactly.
I made you pretty much is what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've ran many like events in the past, and recently you actually just ran a charity event. What inspired you to like do that and to put all the effort into it that you did?
Yeah, so dang. The latter part of that question is interesting, that I don't know how to answer that. Like, why do all the work for it? That I'm still not sure about. But I guess yeah, I mean, I love the game. I love the competitive scene. I'm a true believer, especially, and maybe this is just the wrong approach too, but being like on the cusp of being a boomer and growing up with like Magic and other IRL trading card games, like of course they have their casual fan base that just plays Friday Night Magic or Magic on their kitchen table, Commander and stuff, but a huge push on what sells packs and singles is the competitive scene and having some kind of like tournament structure and calendar of events and invitationals and stuff. So I think that's always kind of like inspired me to run events, is being like, that's what I love about the team tour. But I'm like, we can do more, and I want to do more to attract people to the dojo and attract people to like the game itself, right? Especially considering my road to finding Super Auto Pets and finding the dojo. There's so many people I know that are frustrated with Magic or frustrated or play TFT because they don't know better, like I did, and it's like you could be playing a way better game and enjoying yourself way more and be like part of a better community, because it's smaller and it's tighter knit and we all know each other, which is really awesome. And so yeah, I think that's kind of like the driving force. And then I guess content brain wise, it makes a lot of sense to just do like for, um, my website or my stream or my YouTube and stuff. And then, yeah, I mean, the charity events, it's kind of like, you know, I wanted to try something different. I wanted to get a litmus test on like how people would feel about playing in an organized event, even if they weren't going to win like a cash prize.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I've, it's, I don't know if this is necessarily true. I guess it depends on the game that you play, but I would say in the world of strategy games, it's a lot easier to cheat in person than it is online. Like if you were to play Magic online, it's a lot harder to cheat than like stacking your deck or something, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always like a little worried about that, being like, I don't want to give away, $100 to first place. Like, is that going to get people to like get on a VC together and like not play by themselves type of thing? So I'm like, all right, well, at least with the charity events, it's for a good cause, and then also maybe curbs some of that like black hat like cheating behavior. And then going back to my original point of trying to help grow the game and grow the scene, it might get some folks that are in the regular SAP Discord to finally give like something more structured or competitive a try, because they're like, all right, well, even if I think I suck, it's like if I show up, I am at least helping out charity, right? So and I did have like a couple DMs after the weekend where people were like, oh, I'm gonna join the dojo, or like this is pretty cool. So I feel like that was a win.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like us, like as like streamers especially, like I feel like at least me, I don't realize how much I have an impact on some people in the scene. Because like I've had like people like specifically like Buga, who was like, yeah, you like really made me like stream SAP, and like you were the reason I joined competitive and started streaming SAP. And it's like I really never like put that into perspective. I just like played the game,
Yeah, no,
like,
totally.
I never really thought like about that.
I would not be here right now if Suboptimal was like, oh, here's the link to the dojo when I asked as an anonymous chatter. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think we like really think about how much those people impact us.
Yeah, I mean we're called influencers for a reason, right?
Yeah. But yeah, going again back to that charity event, like how do you think it ran overall, and like do you plan on doing another one in the future, or like what are your plans with that event?
Yeah, so I think overall I'm very happy with it. I was a one-man army for the whole thing. I didn't like hire staff or anything to help run the tournament, and I used a new platform. I wasn't using 20bot. I was using communitygaming.io, and it was my first time not only running charity event, but running charity events, like trying to make it like a digital con. Like it wasn't just one tournament. There was all these side events that were like running in parallel and stuff. And November ended up being just like an absolutely bonkers month for me at work. Like not only did our product drop, but there was all these extra marketing pushes and campaigns we didn't expect. Like two very important people on the team were like out of office for multiple weeks, so it was just like I was fried. Like I didn't really promote the event as hard as I wish.
You said fuck charity, like you don't care anymore. You're too busy getting the bag. I respect it.
Yeah, no, totally. But yeah, my plan was to do more in November to kind of like build hype leading up to it, and I finally just had to like come to peace with myself, being like, okay, let me change my mindset and view this as like a soft open, and be like, this is the first time I'm doing it. The people that are the most passionate about trying it out are here. And then for 2024, to answer your question directly, I'm definitely going to do it again. But I'm going to make a more concentrated effort on like the go-to-market strategy, or like the campaign, like leading up to it. Because I didn't reach out to any big streamers to help promote it, like a Northern Lion or something. I could be running like more smaller satellite events leading up to it, and maybe there's like an invitational that weekend. There's like a lot of different things I could do. I could do something where it's like, oh, like let's say I open signups 8 weeks in advance, and it's like, anyone that signs up in the first week, I'll do a raffle, and your charity wins money, or you know what I mean, just to like promote people signing up early. There's a lot of things I can do. So this year it was kind of like lay the groundwork, see if it works, see if there's interest, write like the competitive rules doc and all that stuff, and then next year it's like experiment with how to grow it.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's really cool that you do that, especially because like, the last like year or so, we've really had a like decline in terms of people who want to like TO tournaments or events than SAP because like, it's just so hard, especially with like with a community that's this small, to try to get a nice sized event.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, to that point, like my goal is definitely to have the biggest Super AutoPets tournament in history, and then also to get 1,000-person Super AutoPets tournament. Like that is definitely a goal of mine, and yeah, it is a ton of work. Like anyone listening and feeling inspired, I'm gonna warn you, it's a lot of work. But you know, I mean, you can figure it out. I mean, decades ago, I worked at a game shop where I ran tournaments all the time, and I was like a scorekeeper for Yu-Gi-Oh, where I've even like score kept like, you know, multi-1,000-person events like their championship series. So it's not like, I guess, as scary. It's like I've done, you know what I mean? Like I've done bigger things, I guess. So yeah.
So, in every episode of the podcast, I'm gonna have a little segment where I do a little bit of trivia.
Okay.
So about, you know, the cop scene or whatever. And your question for this one is: so you joined the team tour in season 3. In season
really?
3, season 3 was the first season you joined. We won. We were that good. Yeah, remember?
Oh, I thought I joined season 4. Okay, all right, cool. Okay.
Season 3.
Okay.
In season 3, there was a rookie that was the first overall pick, and the person that I voted to be the MVP. Do you know who that was? The rookie. They were a rookie who was the first overall pick in the draft, and they won MVP to me. Do you know who that is?
I have a guess. I mean, I only get one shot at this question. That's it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we can give you however many you want.
Right.
But
so my. Okay, so I'll just talk it out. I don't remember exactly, but from watching your streams and then knowing some history about some people, for some reason my gut is telling me that the answer is bagels.
That is the answer, yeah.
That's the answer? Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember watching one of your streams and being like, whoa, that dude was like a rookie. For some reason in my head, I just assumed that they were in every season.
Yeah.
Like they were not like new.
They like came into the scene like randomly. They were like the 40th seed, and they were just like crushing everybody. They beat like Rec War, and we were like very convinced it was an all for a while. It's like he just like came out of nowhere. But yeah, so first overall pick, MVP. So you got that. That's pretty good. I wasn't sure if you were going to get that one or not.
I mean, that's just, you know, I think I was at the right place at the right time watching one of your like power ranking streams. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, so back to the questions. Again, you joined Team Tour in season 3, but you've been captaining since like season 5. What made you want to become a captain and take on more responsibility with like Team Tour and managing people?
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, part of my evolution in my 9 to 5 has been more like managing projects and managing people. So it was like a natural, I guess, step in like my for fun life as well. But also, I just didn't even realize it was an option. Like, I mean, I don't think he's really going to care, but I literally got like a DM from Damon one time, and he's like, "Yo, I want to chat with you about some stuff. Like, can you join VC?" And I was like, "Sure." And then he was literally like, "I would like you to be a captain. Would you like to be a captain?" I was like, "I didn't even know that was an option." I was like, "Yeah, hell yeah."
Yeah.
Like, I didn't apply because I thought like, you know, oh, I wasn't like cool enough, or I wasn't like I'd been around the scene enough, you know, to do it. So yeah, shout out to Damon for inviting me because I probably wouldn't have applied otherwise. And then, yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, similar to what I said about like running the tournaments and stuff, it's like, you know, I'm happy to take like more of a leadership role in the community to help grow the scene and stuff. And yeah, I don't mind doing the work. I think also too, because I was fortunate enough to be drafted by Echo in season 3 and season 4. And I heard that he was not going to be a captain. So there was a silly part of me that was like, well, I can captain, then draft Echo. We can still be on the same team.
Yeah. So, yeah, in my eyes, I feel like you've really like established yourself as one of the better Team Tour captains at this point. No, you know, I never had a doubt. I would never say anything about you not being a good captain on the voting stream.
I appreciate you saying that, considering the discussion on captain MVP for last season.
Yeah, last season, yeah, wasn't as pretty, but I think you've kind of established yourself as being a good captain. What do you do personally to be a good captain, and what do you do in like strategizing to plan out the season and manage your team?
Yeah, no, totally. So for those that don't know, yeah, this is my 3rd year captaining. We're in the playoffs right now, hoping to win my 2nd championship, winning back-to-back championships. We did win last year, or last season, I should say.
Hey, you also won season 3. It'd be your 3rd. Second as a captain, 3rd overall.
True. Yeah, 2nd as a captain. Yeah. So I have 2 championships on my belt, 1 as a captain. So I guess the secret to, getting a championship team is getting like 4 to 5 1 seeds on your team, and then also not drafting the team, being completely absent from the draft.
Yeah, that was your secret. Just have somebody else draft the whole team for you. Yeah. Not a bad idea.
I mean, that's how it worked out. But it is funny in hindsight because, like, so that's one lesson I've learned over the years is pay closer attention to conversations in the captain's chat in the dojo, even when you're not pinged. Because I didn't know when the season 6 draft was, and then yeah, it is. I mean, sometimes. Yeah, season 5, I definitely didn't do enough due diligence on like researching the scene and preparing for my draft. And then it's kind of funny because I was absent for the draft in season 6, and then I'm the returning champion as a captain. So I was like, all right, well, I did nothing last draft, and I would love to get a repeat win. So I did like extra work, like researching the player pool, like thinking about like the mock draft, like, researching players and stuff, especially since it was kind of funny to draft Echo first in my first time to captaining, and then to get DMs from him immediately after I picked somebody. Yeah. And you can imagine what the tone of those DMs were.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so but yeah, I would say the big thing that I've learned is it really pays off to do homework on the freshmen and the rookies, because like every team that I feel like goes the distance far in the season or wins the season, they magically have some kind of like bottom seed that's just like a stone cold killer, right? Like,
yeah.
You can look at my team or the team I was on. I feel apprehensive to see my team from season 6 because it was such a group effort, and I had a lot of great assistant coaches that were like de facto coaches as well, and captains, I should say, co-captains. But yeah, I mean, like obviously on paper, like having Subbo and Moose and Echo is all absurd, but like our 6th seed was XRB.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Which is crazy, but also like unbelievable draft pick from suboptimal drafting in my place, right?
Man,
so
I really wanted to draft XRB in that draft, but we just
really?
Yeah, we had our eyes on him, but we waited too long to get him.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's what happens, right? And it's and yeah, I think this season, right, like, Buga on paper had a lot of potential. I think is finally hopefully unlocking his potential now going into the playoffs, but I got really fortunate that no one else I guess prioritized Clover like I did too. And Clover has turned out to be awesome. So
yeah, for sure.
And I will say that ranked has been a huge help for me because I'm still newer to the scene and I don't know like everyone's history, and I hate to use this phrase, but I'm an adult. Like I have a 9 to 5. I come home, I have to do my own dishes, make my own dinner. You know what I mean? Like I have, I can't just like read the dojo all the time.
Yeah.
But when I log in to play and I play against someone, I pay like really particular attention to like their username. And I try to remember like all the freshmen that are on the sign up list for the dojo. So when I'm like, for example, I didn't end up having the chance to draft them, but I queued against like, Crocs are nice like once or twice in ranked. And I don't even remember what the outcomes were, but I remember leaving being like, this person's pretty good. Like if I can get them like 6th or 7th, I would definitely take them.
Oh, yeah.
And the Clover was a similar deal. Like I think I had queued into them and I was like, whoa, this person is pretty legit. So I think that's That's my advice, I guess, to anyone that's thinking about captaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so again, some more team tour questions. What's been like your favorite team tour team that you've been on, and like why? Like maybe not the best, but like maybe it could be the best, but whatever team you believe you had the most fun on, or.
Yeah. Oh, that's tough because like, all right, damn. I think every team was special in its own way for sure.
That's like the most political answer.
Yeah, I don't want to throw it.
No, yeah, no, I know.
I would say, well, I'll say something nice about every team I've been on because it is true. So, for example, like my first time captaining, it was a super homey vibe, like on the team, and everyone was super friendly and working together, and it was pretty awesome. And they were all very like encouraging and supporting with me being a rookie captain. And then yeah, I mean the championship team was like last season was like amazing. Got to be on Echo's team again. Learned a lot from Moose too, like just like how to think about matchups and like plot them out and stuff. And I mean we at one point in the season we were like it's impossible for us to make playoffs. We're like 10% to make playoffs, and we had a penalty, we had a substitution, our 1 seed dropped, like, and we somehow won the whole thing. It was quite the Cinderella story. So that was really special. And then yeah, this season has been really cool. Like the squad is great, the vibes are great. It's been fun to come into my own, like doing more coaching too, because that's something the last 2 seasons I wasn't that comfortable with, because I felt like I still had like too much to learn. And then yeah, I mean my rookie season, like, is that's always going to be kind of near and dear to my heart. It's like how I got introduced to the whole scene, But I would say the most fun for sure has to be the SAP and Snap team. Like the vibes were just like immaculate. And then at the time, like me, Require, Katarba, and Jeet were all like heavily into Marvel Snap.
I remember that.
So like every day after work, one of us, if not all 4 of us, were always around in a VC playing Super Odd Pets or playing Marvel Snap or both. So like it was like the hang was awesome. So yeah, that was probably, we didn't win, but it was probably the most fun. That was also the season where, is that true? Yeah, that's the season. No. I'm trying to remember which season Require like trolled Echo. It had to be that one, because that's the only season that the 3 of us, I think, were on a team together. But there was a week where, yeah, it was that season. I forget who Require was playing against, but he was live updating in our team Discord, like what was happening in the match and how he was like losing and getting bad beaten, and Echo was like losing his mind. Yeah. And he made up the whole thing. Like he wasn't actually playing his match.
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah. But then
that may have been season 3, because I was on your guys' team then. I feel like I vaguely remember that.
Well, I think it was season 4 though, because not only did he do that epic troll, which was hilarious, but then he and his opponent never scheduled their match, and we got a double loss. And then
you know what? That was against my team. Because that was right, because that was G versus Requar, and G was on my team, and that was the first ever. Because I remember, because we really needed that set for playoffs.
Yeah, same.
And I messaged G like fucking 5 times. Like, bro, are you ever gonna schedule? And what made it worse about it was like, okay, I get it, people are busy. You can't schedule. 1, that was when best of 3s were still allowed, and
True.
2. That was an extended week. We had 2 weeks in that week, I remember, to schedule, and they never did.
And then Echo never followed up because he thought the match actually happened. That
was way too funny. And then
you know what's so funny is I thought it was between Require and Jeet, but Jeet was hanging out in our team Discord so much.
Oh yeah, he was just on your team. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like an honorary member of our team. I forgot they were actually playing each other, which is even crazier because they were hanging out together playing Marvel Snap the whole time.
Yeah, they never played. Dude, and I remember everybody was complaining because like as soon as the DQ happened, like 30 minutes later, Requar added static ping to 1v1 somebody. Like, it was so funny.
Yeah, that was a pretty fun season.
Yeah. Okay, so going to our next question. The event that I'm running, last one standing, the one that you're in on Friday. I was
Hmm.
just curious going in, of course, a little shill. Um, do you think anybody is like your biggest competition, or do you have a strategy going into it? Have you like thought about it at all, or you just like balls to the
Mm.
wall?
Yeah, I'm just going to have a good time. I do have like some ideas for a strategy, but I feel like it's like foolish to reveal them now.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I would say the whole cast has been leaked, right? Or has been
yeah,
announced.
yeah.
I would say, hmm, SAG could be really good in this, I think.
Yeah, I think he is definitely one of like the more skilled people for sure.
Yeah, because the other thing you have to think about is besides having skill at any of the challenges, I feel like SAG is he's very, what's the right word? He has good, he's an influencer. He's a good
Mm,
influencer. I feel
yeah.
like I could see in a small group of people his opinions carrying more authority somehow.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
which
Like
is very strong with like getting votes on a reality show.
oh yeah, like you can definitely just tell like he just has like nobody wants to vote SAG out and everybody wants to listen to him when he's in the call.
Exactly, which is like, the best thing you could ever hope for if you're trying to win a reality competition show.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, okay, and the last of my questions really, what's been like your favorite set that you've ever like played in and why? And that can be in any tournament or any point. Just like what was a set that sticks out to you?
It's Super Auto Pets.
Yeah, in Super Auto Pets.
Okay. Hmm. I guess there's two that come to mind. There's the second time that I played against X-Rai. I guess it was like season 4.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had already had a pretty good freshman season, but I was still like a lower seed.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was like surprised that I had beat him the first time. They're like, "Oh, well, you're puppy packing, so it's like you just it's a fluke, or you just got lucky."
Mm-hmm.
And in X-Ray's defense, the second time we played in the next season, I was puppy packing again. But
Yeah.
I still, I
Yeah.
guess I won again. So it's like if it was total RNG, it should be like 50-50 or something, right? So I guess
Yeah.
I just kind of remember that moment of winning against him the second time, being like, okay, I'm doing better than just being a degenerate puppy packer, because this
Mm-hmm.
this person's good enough to punish anytime I don't like Omega high roll. So
Yeah.
like I'm getting to a point where it's like I'm able to navigate some of these like mid rolls a lot better.
Mm.
And the other set that really stands out to me is in the Masters of the Dojo Star Pack
Mm.
tournament. So first off, my round robin was like wow, because I lost to Semiquince, but then beat Lightmare and T Disc, which is like the wildest
Very, very
combination.
normal, yeah,
Yeah,
results.
very
As we all
very
know.
normal.
Yeah.
And then I forget, at one point I'm playing Hop in the playoffs and I'm doing really well. Like at one point I'm leading the best of 7 like 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
And like
And
he
yeah,
eventually comes back and wins because he's
yeah,
Hop, but like
yeah.
I left that match not only getting props and like, I guess like digital like pats on the back from like Ricard and Echo being like, that was really impressive, even though you lost.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did the Philadelphian in me, felt very Rocky-esque. I was like, I didn't knock him out, but I went the distance. Like
Yeah.
I went to a best of 7. I made him really sweat.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that one felt really good. Even though I lost, I was like, okay, I can actually like hang with
Mm-hmm.
some of the top dogs in the scene, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that because Hop was like perceived to be like the best Pack 3 player at the time too. So I remember watching that set and was very impressed, for
Cool.
sure.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so we got some fan questions here, some viewer questions. The first two actually come from Dune. He had two questions. The first
Okay.
one,
Nice.
he asked, "How did you come up with the name FullBellyLaughs?"
Ooh, okay, that is a great question. Um, so yeah, I came up with the name because I had just started doing stand up, and I knew I was gonna have a podcast and like a website,
Mm.
and I was a huge fan of Doug Loves Movies at the time. I still like that podcast, but I haven't listened to it in ages, like years. And it was like a comedy podcast that had like a bunch of like movie trivia games. And I knew that my show was going to be like related to food, but also be comedy. And it would have like some party, like kitchen table games and stuff. So I was like, all right, I want a name that has something to do with like food and then also has something to do with like comedy, but is generic enough where I'm not locked into like eating pasta every week or something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like I remember sitting at my desk at this job I like hated that I had at the time, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Maybe I had just watched like Jeopardy recently, and like before and afters were just like marinating in my head, and I'm
Mm.
like, oh, full belly laughs, boom, put them together,
Mm.
and that's where it came from. And I just like instantly went to GoDaddy and registered the website, and then registered all the social handles and stuff, and then yeah, the rest is history.
That's cool. The other one that also comes from Dune, he asked, "What drove you to make a lot of SAP related content?"
Mm. Um, well, SAP is like my main game. It's been, yeah, I guess, I guess to answer Dune's question specifically, he might be referring to like all the YouTubes I've been doing recently.
Mm.
So I've been streaming for the last few years, but I've really struggled with trying to be like consistent with YouTube.
Mm.
It's something I continue to struggle with. Like as I speak right now, I have a fully complete SAP video that I've uploaded 2 weeks ago that I just haven't unprivated on my YouTube page.
Oh
Because
yeah,
I just forgot.
Mm.
Which is crazy. I have a home assistant. There's technology. I can remind myself. I could have scheduled it so it would just post. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, uh, um, but yeah, I kind of just realized like, you know, SAP was going to be like the main game that I was going to feature on my stream, especially the more I got into like the competitive scene. Like, you know, as we've kind of talked about throughout our conversation, like, you know, first downloading SAP, kind of joining the dojo soon after, then getting the team tour, then becoming a captain. You know, it was kind of like a natural progression to be like, all right, well, if I'm spending all this time like in the community, I should be doing more content about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally got into a good rhythm and workflow where it was easier for me to make, I felt like, decent videos that with my time constraints in my life. Like I did, for full context, I did a video about the first time I ever played Fortnite, and it took me probably like 4 or 5 months to like make the whole video with all the edits and going through the footage of like the whole stream and like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, fancying it up. And it's just so much easier for me, especially with the update to the app where you can watch your replays, to just react to one of my own games and then, you know, put some music behind it and put it out. So
Mm-hmm.
that too, the barrier to entry to creating more SAP content for me is a lot easier. So
Yeah.
and then yeah, I mean also too, like on YouTube, most of the content that I stumble upon, you know, and you're kind of helping fill this void as well, is like it's very Johnny-esque. It's very like, look at this really cool arena team I made.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
and it's not like dojo specific, or it's not like competitive specific, or it's not like 1v1 specific. So once like replays came out and once ranked came out, I was like, okay, this is, I've never had a better excuse to like start making the kind of thing that I wished
Mm.
was out there for me to watch. So,
Yeah.
you know, hopefully it helps somebody, even though I know I'm not I'm the best, but you know,
Yeah.
hopefully I help someone that's not as good as me, I guess.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and you know, that's why I'm trying to run these different, cooler, more competitive style events where it's still kind of more open to other people, and that's why I'm studying this. You know, to it's like I would watch the stuff that I'm trying to make. You know, so that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to do. Make more cool set content because like it's such a hard game to get original stuff out of. So that's what has been my goal, is try to do as much of that as possible.
Totally.
Okay, 2 more questions coming from Kadi. He
Alrighty.
asks, "What is your favorite game of all time?"
Favorite game of all time. It feels like a cop-out answer, but I guess I would say Magic. It's been in my life the longest, and there's just so many ways to play.
Yeah.
That it's got kind of something for everyone, but I feel like that's not the answer he's looking for. To add more like, I guess, like color to that question. As a kid, my favorite like board game was this board game called Omega Virus. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it.
I haven't.
You have not or
No,
haven't?
I haven't.
Okay. I gave you both negative choices. I don't know what. Haven't you or have not? It was this board game where you're like on this spaceship and you're trying to like isolate where the computer virus is and like destroy it or something. And there were like 3 pieces of hardware you had to like find and collect, and then you had to find where the virus was and then like attack it. And what was so neat about the game is this game came out in like the 90s. But it had like a voice box that you pressed commands into, and it had like voice commands that came back and it would talk to you. So at the time it was like very advanced technically.
Yeah.
And what was neat too was like it just there were different modes. So you could play like, you know, family beginner mode where it's like, let's say you had 30 minutes to beat the game. But you could play like sweaty mode where you only had 10 minutes and then everyone loses or something.
Oh, that's interesting.
So yeah, it was interesting. Like it was an individual competition game, so it's like you individually won if you defeated the virus, but everyone lost if you like didn't work somewhat together. So that was an interesting balance. So anyway, that was probably like my favorite board game. Favorite tabletop game, Magic for sure. And then I guess like my favorite video game, obviously Slap, but like let's I play a ton of Fortnite as well. I literally just started playing Fortnite this year. I'm such a boomer. And then as far as growing up, I was a huge like Super Nintendo and N64 player. So I'm really dating myself. But like Super Mario World, you know, Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past. I could never get into the 3D ones. So I was such a fan of the 2D. And yeah, I mean, obviously Super Mario 64, and then I always had a soft spot for Wave Race 64. I don't know if anyone knows that one.
I haven't heard of it, but
yeah, it's just like a weird like jet ski racing game on N64, but I don't know, it's kind of rad. It rules. And then yeah, so it's funny. I guess this is a little bit of like a spoiler, but I finally bought like the hardware to like connect analog controllers to your PC and not have like crappy delay and stuff like that. So outside of SAP content, my plan is to do more like retro gaming because I'm older, and specifically like Super Mario World and ROM hacks. So I've beaten Vanilla Mario a million times. It's time to challenge myself, you know.
Yeah, that'll be cool. And then Cody's other question, very serious question. He asks, "Is cereal a soup?"
Is cereal a soup?
Yeah.
That is a good question.
I personally would say no. It's just like,
okay,
like it's the same conversation to me with like, is hot dog a sandwich? Like it's like trying to fit it in too much. Like you're just trying to fit it in too hard to like the specific, definition. Where like to me, I feel like we all know the concept of what is supposed to be a sandwich and what isn't.
Sure.
Instead of trying to like nerd, technically, it's a sandwich.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
No, I hear you. So you think a hot dog's not a sandwich?
I would not count it. Like I see the point, but I wouldn't. No.
Yeah. So I hear where you're coming from. I say a hot dog is a sandwich and cereal is a soup. However, if someone was like, I'm in the mood for a sandwich, and I'm like, what kind of sandwich you want? And they say a hot dog, I am going to shoot them a look, right? Where if it's like, you know, if someone's like, oh, I'm feeling sick, can you get me some soup? I'm not going to pour it.
Yeah.
You know, like it is a little weird. But, you know, there is, what is it? Gazpacho is like a cold soup, right? So I like, you know, I think it can fit. There is also those fancy like lobster bisque soups where it's like they bring out the bowl with the lobster in it and then they pour the soup into it. So that is a little bit kind of like cereal, I guess. Yeah. Where you're pouring the liquid after the fact, but Yeah, I hear the the gears grinding where it's like, yeah, you're thinking chicken noodle, not,
Yeah.
Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah. Okay, and our final viewer question comes from two people actually. Noob
Ooh,
Skills.
they asked the same thing.
Well, so I asked Noob Skills, "Do you have a question for FBL?" And he was in a call with Buga, and
Okay.
they asked, "Do you regret drafting Mr. Buga?"
I thought Buga was gonna ask me to prove that I know Matt and Shane again. The Yeah, so no, I do not regret drafting him. But I mean, he's a party animal, so he's always bringing good vibes and good spirits. Um, and it's fun. So selfishly, this might be like a cop out answer, but no, I would never regret picking anyone because it's like at the time I picked them because I believed in them, and I still believe in them. If I didn't, that would be terrible for the team, right?
Yeah. I admittedly have some that I've advised where it's like, telling my team, I think we should draft X person, and I'm like, okay, maybe I should have just kept my mouth shut. Not to name any names, but there's definitely been some like, oopsies.
Oh, of
But
course, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, not everyone can, um, not everyone can get it right with every draft pick all the time. I remember one time. I don't think it's true anymore, but like I remember you telling me with like stats from Team Tour, I have a positive win record. I'm like, how is that possible? 'Cause
Uh,
I've been sucking the last like 2 seasons.
yeah, I mean, the first 3 seasons, you were like 8-2 or something. Like you were doing really good.
You know what's so funny is like the final week of I think season 4, it worked out perfectly with matchups because T-Disc went on to be like undefeated, right? Wasn't that like the season, like his breakout season or something?
Yeah, he had a really good season. Season 4, I think. Yeah.
I think that was the season where he went like undefeated, and it was like the first ever to do it. But the very final week of the regular season, we played each other, and I was also undefeated at that point. So we were like playing for like the perfect regular season. But anyway, I'm digressing. No, Buga, I don't regret at all. And then selfishly, it's been a great learning experience for me as a captain and a coach, and I guess like a player manager, if you will, on figuring out like how I can like encourage someone to get better and like unleash their potential when like I guess like the initial coaching or instruction isn't landing, and he knows this, but like a perfect example is how fast he plays, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
The low
what?
seed curse.
Yeah, yeah, and he he even admitted it like after like the first few weeks of playing, like, oh yeah, you've been telling me that, and I just like I'm not remembering. So it's been a cool experience for me too to be like, okay, how can I get like certain lessons to stick for different people because everyone learns in different ways. So, but yeah, no, Buga is super fun to hang with. I really enjoy being on his stream. I really am happy to have him on my team. He's a great, even though his record hasn't been great yet. If he starts turning around the playoffs, so he could start winning at the perfect time when we need him. And yeah, the vibes are great. Like he's always cheering everyone on, and is really fun to be around the Discord. So yeah, I do not.
Okay, so I got my final question here. What are you most grateful for the SAP community? From the SAP community, you know.
What am I grateful? I guess like explain your question a little bit. I want to make sure I answer.
Just like, what are you thankful for from the SAP community? Kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah. Dang, I am really grateful that. I'm trying to think of a way to crystallize what I want to say in a more brief way, because I've rambled on every other question. But
no, you're okay. It's been great. It's been great.
Oh, good. So I would say, I know what I want to say. I'm trying to figure out how I want to say it. I am really grateful at the. Okay, I'm gonna answer this the long way.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So earlier, like, I was answering some questions. You were talking to me about like running tournaments and like, why do you do that? Like, you don't, and we kind of highlighted the fact like, yeah, it's a lot of work. Like, nobody has to do this, and there's something really special about the group of people in the dojo that I'm very grateful for, because like I'm not the only one that's going the extra mile to create things for the scene and for the greater good of the game. I feel like it's very common in a lot of other communities, and I'm air quoting right there because I feel like they're not communities like us. And people are just like quick to complain or quick to bitch or, quick to, just love whatever the developer shoves down their throat, and, are kind of passive. And there's one thing that's great about the dojo, I think, is like we're a pretty tight knit group, and it's really easy to, but we're not like closed off and cliquey. Like you can, we're open to more people, of course, like joining and getting involved. And there's just so many people that do so many extra stuff, like all the things that you're creating, the work that all the TOs and specifically Moose and Damon do for Team Tour. Like Team Tour doesn't have to exist. Like that's a passion project of people that love the game and want there to be an awesome game. Like, people that are newer to Super Auto Pets, like you have to realize that there was no ranked like like 6 months ago. Like the whole dojo scene is kind of created out of the fact that like, well, all right, this doesn't exist yet. We're not just going to sit around and complain about it. Like, let's just make it, right? Like, there was a ranked bot in there and stuff. So, yeah, that's the thing I'm the most grateful for is, like, people are really just passionate about the game and passionate about, like, creating things that make the scene better for everyone and are, like, very welcoming to new people and people that have ideas, too, to make it better. Like, kind of the way I made like a big splash on the scene was running my own tournament like a year and some change ago, right? And then that's when people were like, oh, yeah, why aren't you in the team tour and stuff? So yeah, I'm super grateful for all that.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming on, of course. I hope I had some good questions and you had a good time.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was a blast. I'm very honored that you asked me to do it, and I'm very it feels special to be on the first episode, right? Like, when we look back years from now and SAP is as popular as, Fortnite, I can be like, I was the first of, on the top 10 podcast of Tyler's.
Yeah, hopefully. You got anything you want to shout out? Any, Twitch, YouTube projects you got coming up?
Yeah, sure. So so I'm FullBellyLaughs everywhere. You may hear people refer to me as Brian because people know my name, which is fine. So yeah, FullBellyLaughs on Twitch and YouTube. Those are my most active platforms. Like I have other social medias, but don't really use them. I mean, X/Twitter is about to go to 0.
Yeah,
so
that is true. Yeah.
No need to follow me there. And then yeah, I guess just. I guess I am kind of known as a tournament organizer in the scene. Like besides running that huge like charity event weekend, in the past I've run like a lot of like more casual pickup tournaments like in my Discord and stuff. So it's like if you're just interested in organized play for Super Auto Pets, come find me because there's a good chance I'm putting together something you're probably interested in.
Yep. All those links will be like in the description down below, of course. And again, appreciate you for coming on, and I'll see you on Friday, I guess. So
yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, see you later.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.